Well, we should be going live now. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. We have some expansive topics we're going to be talking about today, and we have a great two guests today, Arkeim and Kat. Can you introduce yourself to our lovely audience?
Well, I'm Arkeim Ra, and maybe a lot of people watching your channel probably know who I am. Uh, I was part of the Montauk project, and I'm kind of like a SSB whistleblower person, trying to help other people with their memories and stuff like that, and speaking out. And then this is my partner here, Kat,
Hello.
who she can introduce herself as well, but I'll help and lead up and do it with just we were both grew up in the same MK Ultra MyLab hometown, and we ended up with each other in such a way where I don't think the powers that be really wanted to have happen.
Yep.
And yeah, we're kind of what you would call a power couple.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
guess. So, hey, Kat, if you want to kind of introduce yourself.
I'm just Kat. You can find me through his Facebook profile if you want to look me up. I don't really have like a platform of my own. I'm just trying to get like an online clothing selling thing going right now. But yeah, I'm just starting to kind of come into my own, I guess you could say, as far as like memories and abilities and stuff. So that's basically who I am and where I'm at right now.
Wonderful. Thank you. And it's all good. So I sent you the link. Um, Yeah, and thanks for coming on, guys. It was great hearing your presentation, Arkeem, at the conference. So look forward to this talk. It'll be very expansive on uh, mind blowing, whatever you want to go into. Is it like the information you have kind of blows apart the norm of what we think of as possible? And I understand. There's an interesting world in the seen and the unseen that we have to integrate. And a lot of people have these boundaries on their ego that keep them in a prison of belief of what there is. It's both a prison and expansion and keeping from greaterness, but also a safety mechanism that keeps them from what they think is dangerous or possibly something that would bring them into fear and unsafety, which is understandable why they have this mechanism. And what you bring in information brings into a dark world of what it is like as if the future has capability to influence back in time.
Yeah,
Um,
I've seen some of that.
interact and steal people and then use them for things to change outcomes of events and mine them for resources and workers and expand territories and colonies into inner Earth, space, back and forth in time, other timelines, and then the conquest continues. And feel free to so to build, let's build a little bit for people. How did this all start? How did this unfold for you? We talked about this a little bit, so you can kind of skip past what we already talked about in our previous shows. But like in memory, each has like different triggers, right?
So, can you elaborate on the question? Sorry.
Yeah. What like started unfolding this more and more each time you got a new unfoldment of memories of expansion of the possibility and abuse, because a lot of the sad and overwhelming emotions I find usually is the thing that come up first.
Well, inside of a lot of this, what I've been finding is a transformation process of memory where in integrating these memories, I learn a lot about myself and who I am and what my potential mission could be here. But I admittedly am in a position where I'm still struggling to understand a lot of what I've experienced, but I'm divulging the information in a way where I'm hoping to educate people and to where they'll understand the reality of alternate realities and Is he still here? What happened?
Hmm,
It looks like
Technical difficulties.
technical difficulties. It
I'm
looks
not
like.
sure if this is still recording or not, but let's get this figured out.
So one of the things that I got to point out to everybody here is there's been a great deal of interference with this interview. If it is streaming, we've been having problems the entire time setting it up. Me and Sean have a connection here in these programs. These MK Ultra mind control secret space programs. And he has what you would call activation codes. Now, a lot of times these activation codes are a nefarious and bad thing, where they're activating people in a disingenuous and negative way. But Sean happens to have codes that can activate people in a positive manner. Anyway, I kept things rolling. I'm not sure what happened there, but I kept things rolling for you. Now I can't hear you, brother. Turn on your microphone.
Yeah, sorry about that. The technical things fucking with me and it's
So
whatever.
what I was saying to the viewers is basically that you have these. We've worked together in these programs. We've had these what would be called activation codes, and a lot of times activation codes are a nefarious negative thing, but you happen to have negative, positive activation codes, and you happen to be a guardian and protection or protector of some of these codes, but not only that, astral realms which open up portals to other realities, which is something that we could probably do a whole show about. But yeah, that's a real thing. Walking into other realities to the astral realm through your dreams. That's something that you're very good at doing, and you do a lot of work in the astral realm, and so do I, and we work together in tangent a lot of the time. And your partner and you are very eternal. You both have done a lot of work with each other and continue to do that now and know each other from these eternal lives. And so do myself and my partner.
That's true.
And so yeah, that's a great deal of the reason why it's always a pleasure to talk to you, and why I hope that there's fuller expansion of these ideas when we do speak with the people who are watching. And I'll definitely put this on my channel as part of a playlist. I make a lot of playlists to help get other channels and just get the information out there and cross contamination. I'll make sure to put this on there. But yeah, that's a big part of it, of your journey is you're an activator. So I know that maybe like I'm here to talk about myself, but I'm also here to talk about you, Sean, and our connection. And then also Catherine as well. We've been having a lot of memories and things happening too, and I think it's a due time where I have her sit down and talk with me about some of these things.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, sharing that. And yeah, I do like interacting with psionics in the astral and expanding the ability to affect the rest of the world, and what I saw people call magic, and being able touch down through the other unseen layers in the spirit world, and bring healing and wholeness and activation.
Which is red, unfortunately. I
Yeah.
mean, a target in some ways.
Oh yeah, yeah. And at this point, I used to hate targeting. Now I kind of, well, my higher self gave me the perspective. It's not going to stop, so you might as well enjoy it. And now I take it on as a challenge because I want to amplify strength to a high capacity, and I see every being that comes in my trap of my game as, the like evil. They do harm. They don't earn their abilities, so they steal them. So they have to constantly predator off of other people. So I earn it, my own power within, and shine that light greater and safe. And I share that as like a fountain of abundance, so that it distributes to those that need it, and as a healer, and etc. And that, like, as you brighten the light, as you two brighten your light, it attracts moths to the flames, and these predators come and try to attach and take your stuff. So I use it as a trap to then resolve those predators in this world. And because I got the vision that it won't stop until a lot of the predators that are in lack, because that's why they're coming after everyone, is because they can't create it themselves, are resolved in some way, shape, or form, depending on the layers of evil and how that is. And then to train my goodness to be able to bring them that come to Jesus moment, or the goodness overwhelm and light, to see certain amounts of them heal and stop doing the evil they're doing, and then some to be punished otherwise. And then like Pavlov's dog train the expansion of the tree of all consciousness, which is ultimately us. So because we are connected to everything, heal, which is what everyone should be doing, because everything is you. But the insane evil is forgotten that, so they're all like me, and forgetting. Yeah, we can go into a lot. I loved your presentation, so thank you for doing that, and look forward to seeing more of your work. We can talk a lot about that thing. I watched it on the online thing, so if people want to go see his really amazing presentation, go on that full disclosure movement.org, and you can probably get the online version of it and see it for yeah, would love to talk to you about like memory retrieval, and then we go into like ways to bring that out, because you have breached the veil, so to speak, in things suppressing your memory. And I'd love to get that perspective coming out. And then I will talk about the things I found on myself and other people that people can release. And then also I'll tune into stuff for you, because I can help you remember more. And I love doing that.
Yeah, the memory retrieval really, I can honestly say, starts with, for me, and honestly started with, and I know this might sound crazy to some people, but it's honestly the truth, is I realized that something was foul in my timeline and the way I experienced things, and I meditated on those strange moments that were occurring in my life where they confused me and they didn't make sense. And through that meditation upon those moments, I started to be able to reflect on what was my memories that were being repressed. And I was able to kind of break through the veil, so to speak, and actually see some of those memories by reflecting upon the falseness of this fabricated version of events that they put as a veil over the real version of events that happened to me. And through that, I was able to very seriously wake up and understand what's happening to me. And it's been an interesting process of understanding, because I'm also seeing that we have both been in these programs and growing up in the same town. And she has also experienced a lot of the same programs as me, and is going through a very similar process of remembering. And I kind of want to pass the torch of the question to her, if you don't mind, as to what it's been like for you getting memories back, and what
Sure.
they're like, because she's definitely less experienced, so this might help the audience. And I'm not trying to say that in a negative way. She's very wise, but
Thank you.
but like for people in the audience, she's newer to getting the memories back, right? That's all I'm saying. And so I think her testimony might really help with understanding what getting those memories back is like.
Yeah, so I mean, there's been a few that have come out recently. There's let's just call it an herbal tea that I use to relax my mind. Because I have a lot of anxiety about mundane things clouds out, thoughts about other things, right? One that I got back most recently, the most powerful one, is the fact that in these programs I have two twin sons. I was watching a compilation of the Scarlet Witch, the Marvel character, and she's got two twin sons, and it just hit me like a punch in the gut, and I just had to put my phone down and just process it for a moment,
Oh, wow.
because
Great,
it was
great
so
series.
powerful. Yeah, it was so powerful, and I was like crying, and he asked me what was wrong, and I told him, and like the next day it's like, okay, how I realize this, how do I handle this? You know what I mean? It's like, how do you go about your day and do normal things afterwards? But just I guess just having, having him here and having other people in the community that I can go to and talk to, that's a huge help for sure. And then I actually got another memory back just the other night where I got a memory back of that I was like a high ranking like military type official, and this mid-20s African American guy was telling me, he was talking about a group of new like young adult, soldiers, and he was like, don't worry, I trained them myself. And I find what's helped for me with getting these memories, because my brain likes to make me forget a lot. I know that there's a lot that comes into my mind and that I forget right away. What helps for me is just having some sort of phrase in the memory to focus on. And then like the phrase, don't worry, I trained them myself. And then I was able to force my mind to look at that clear memory clearer. And I could actually, then I could actually see it in my head. So for me, just having some sort of phrase to focus on, that really helps me, build the rest of the picture.
Interesting. Yeah, and so do you meditate and lay down and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
retrieval?
Yeah,
through
so
the
it's
night.
it's very much so what I said is where this might sound wild, but you really can lay down and go into your own memories. And sometimes it can be very helpful to have someone sit down with you and help you go through those memories. And I will forever be somebody who champions that and supports that. You going to another person to help you with your stuff, because as human beings, it's perfectly okay to go get help with something that you don't understand. But within the same breath of air, you do not have to go to a QHHT practitioner or someone like that and get hypnotized and go into your memories. You can actually do it to yourself. And it's simple as just lying in your bed and giving yourself the space to sit with those memories and go into them. And it helps to have some relaxing music going, maybe some calming smell.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt to like maybe like if you smoke like you know funny stuff. I don't know if there's a filter on that with YouTube or whatever, but it can help, to just if it helps you relax. Some people does the opposite, so it depends on who you are. But the most important thing is to get into a relaxed state so you can do it in a theta state. And then that helps you just kind of activate going in, and you literally can walk through your mind and there's rooms and stuff that helps. And that's why QHHT helps, is because they'll help you visualize the rooms in your mind. But the thing is once you understand like some of these concepts of like the astral physical space in your mind, once you unlock that, you can just go into it yourself if you allow yourself the energy to do so. And I can speak from, I did QHH2 with Drago Reed. It was super powerful. It just unlocked a lot for me. Like, I'm not saying like his QHHT wasn't very like super powerful. It was. But what it did was it unlocked memories from me, realizing like you really can go into your mind yourself. Maybe I'm speaking for myself. I highly recommend QHHT because all of us in these programs have so many memories where if you have a QHHT practitioner like Drago helping you through them, you're able to go through some of the most important, maybe like events and stuff like that that affect you. And then since you got brought to that place by Drago, then when you step out of that session and go to your normal life, it actually will make it more effective when you try to do it on your own, where you try to lie down and go into these places and figure out more. You don't have to do it with a QHHT practitioner every time, but it definitely helps to start there. I myself did not start with a QHHT practitioner, but once I did do work with Drago, it made me understand, oh, wow, this is how you go into your memories. Your mind is a physical space, right? And you can literally walk into those memories. What I found in my session with Drago, and this is interesting, and Sean comes into play here, so it's perfect to bring this up on the show. Is what I found is so what we have, and I'll be real elementary about it and explain it to people if they don't know what the hell I'm talking about, and they don't understand anything about me. Is what we have altars. So these altars, they are versions of you that they create through programming. They create altars that are designed to do certain things. And they can insert them into bodies and make them do certain things. Like, for instance, like if your job in a secret space program is to be an investigator, well, then they'll put it in your personality to love gathering information. If your job is to be a warrior and just go out and hoorah and fight, that's not going to be part of your personality. Your personality is going to be more like simple than that. I don't know, like it just what they make you do is going to match your personality. God, I'm having a brain fog come up. They keep trying to bring up this
Yeah.
brain fog. Are you having that too?
No, not me, not yet, but
Yeah, personality programming and
yeah.
well, I'm talking about, so you can go in these places in your mind and find, yeah. Now I remember what I was trying to say. You can go into these places in your mind and find these authors that they created. But what you'll also realize, and what I find through the work that I've done, and I've known this, is you have alters inside your mind that are not necessarily getting thrown into bodies, getting put on other planets, etc. They're in your mind as like controllers, like referees, trying to stop you from looking at information. So an interesting thing happened with my QHHT session with Drago Reed. There were 87 alters that popped up. 87 of them. And unfortunately for Drago, he does a great job, but half the information he was getting was BS because I had these authors coming up designed to give BS information. My system is more elaborate than most people. So for him, it was like, wow, like it was like probably his hardest job yet. But one of the things that what my alter said is, so the way it happened was there's a corridor in my mind, and Drago was like, walk through the corridor, go through this room, and there'll be a doorway, and go through that doorway. And because it's going to bring you a place in your mind and you need to go. And when I got to that room, there was an alien, a gray alien, standing in front of the doorway. And they're like, oh, you shouldn't go through here. I was like, what? And they just like tried to distract me and have this little long conversation with me. And like, but like, it didn't take long to realize what their purpose was. Their purpose was, God, they're in my mind right now. It's so weird. But their purpose was to distract me from going into that room and walking through that gateway and seeing that part of my mind that Drago's trying to put me through. So yeah, there's like these doorways. And what was interesting is he pulled out this version of me, like I can't remember how it happened, but he pulled out, Drago did, he pulled out this version of me that was like, oh, well, Sean has my like activation codes. And he's like, what do you mean? Because activation codes normally mean like for MK Ultra, like bringing out an alter to like go do stuff for like the CIA or the Navy or whatever, right? But it was like the opposite. Like it was like, no, there's these doorways in my mind, and you have the activation codes to them. And then apparently what happened, which I was beyond myself, I was in this hypnotic state, but apparently, and I was also there, so I'm not saying it didn't happen. It did feel kind of like you stepped into my body. And basically what it was is like, it was like I have codes, and they're codes from Sean. It was really weird. They're for Sean, from Sean. I'm not sure, but according to Drago, my mannerisms changed, and he knows you, and it was like I was you. That's what he says. I'm not claiming that, but he was there, and he said like it seemed like it was like you literally were like you stepped in, right? Like a walk-in. And then I wrote down all these codes. And so apparently I said at the end of the session, because there was all this distraction, all this BS, but he did break through to me, which was part of his job. And he did break through to me, which was very important. And what I said when he got through, I was like, look, it would take so long. There's all these altars, and it'll block you. And you can get through without the codes, but Sean has the codes. You need to have him present. So that's a wild thing, because I know that you have this role sort of as like a healer and stuff like that, and Drago does too. And what you do is different. It's not the same thing. So it's really interesting to me that it's like a tag team thing that you guys can do where you can go in, he can do a QHHT session, and if someone's heavily programmed and they got all these alters, I don't know if it's just specific to me, but I'm guessing that it's not. I think you have like light codes that can like break through. So that's a really interesting thing that we found out in that session. Unfortunately, we didn't go as deep as we maybe wanted to, but also at the same time, is that not extremely deep? That's deep just to find that information. It was like a 3 or 4 hour session. She had one right before me, which by the way, she's more than happy to talk about. But yeah, it was wild. It was wild. The QHHT though, like I'm saying, I highly recommend going through Drago, or depending on which region you're in, because you're supposed to do it in person. Someone may be closer to you, but like Drago, but you really can go into those memories. But once you do it, you realize your mind really is this place. It's a place. Like when you're dreaming, like sometimes you're going to through the astral realm and you're going to other places that actually exist. But sometimes it's just like a theater of your mind. Because your mind is a place that exists. It's like your fortress, your heaven, or I don't know what you'd call it. Because you can also, if you're not doing good, you'll have nightmares and stuff. So it's not always heaven, but it's your fortress, your place that you can go to. And what people don't realize is that physical place is part of the programming. Like at Montauk, they made mazes that we'd have to go through, and then they put beings inside our mind. Not always alters, sometimes those little spirits, jinn, in our minds to block us. Fortunately, there was also an effort to get a lot of those jinns out of our mind through the efforts of Joseph Powell, and when he took over, Jimmy, there was he got a lot of those jinn out of our mind. Because he had them in his mind, so he started there, and he did not like that because those were soldiers working for him. So he did a process of getting some of those jinn out of our mind. But unfortunately, some of us still have jinn in the corners of our mind that will block us from some of the stuff. But not just jinn, our alters, our self. So when you go in your mind, it's really wild how the way these programs work. But it's really important to understand that your mind has a physical space, a physical place, dream versions of the people that you know, and also yourself, and also people that you maybe don't remember that you know, but also you may invent people. But you create kind of a place inside your mind based on what's going on around you. So dreams are interesting because you can go into other realms and experience things that have nothing to do with your mind. You did not create them. You are experiencing something outside you. But there's also like literally this giant, like a whole universe inside our minds. And sometimes a lot of what we experience from dreaming is just inside that massive space inside of our mind. So it's really interesting once you start understanding these things. And that's where QHHT with someone like Drago comes in, and that's where someone like you comes in, where your job, whether it's somebody in meditation, doing it on their own, or with Drago or someone else, your job is you understand the coding of and you might not even realize this yet on a surface level because you have authors and you're in these programs too, which we should touch upon in this interview for sure. But you have coding that can help you just kind of break through these doorways that they make. Where like we showed up and there was this gray there, right? When we showed up there, if you were there, and some of the codes you have, some of them you don't, I think. It depends. But if you were there and you had the code, you could be like, to the alien, you could be like, read the code to them, do this like energetic, like fuck you, like clearing of them, you know what I mean? Like you make them disappear, like with waving your hand, because it's in the astral space. You have to understand, not physical space. It's and you just kind of you know, and then you push through into that thing that they're trying to block you from. You have the ability to do that. It's a special ability you have, and that's part of the reason why you're an energetic healer in the space. There's a lot of different people doing energetic healing, and it's weird because it's live people are watching this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Sean. But that's a big part of your journey is breaking through people's programming in their mind within the astral mazes that they created, the astral MK Ultra programs. You can help people break through those astral temples to get through the portals into their mind, not just to their higher selves and versions of themselves, which they need to and connect with to get their memories back, but also other realities, because many of us through portals in our minds, which Dan Winters talks about this a lot. The astral aspect of things are so important. And there are portals in our minds, a lot of us Montauk people, to other realities, where we can wake up on the other side as someone else. And that's what made it so powerful, is the fact that we're going throughout space and time and waking up in the bodies of other versions of ourselves and stuff like that, which has never been talked about yet until this interview, my friend. And you're a big part of that, is being able to navigate that astral space and help people as a knight, help lead people through the blockages in their mind and get them through their higher understanding of themselves. So when we talk about this, like I've done a million interviews where I just gone, oh, these are my memories, this is what I did, this is what happened, these are what the programs are like, which is great, historical documentation. But I'm glad we did this interview, because this, I feel like, is more framed around, okay, moving forward, moving through your memories, moving through this stuff, the energetic work that comes with it, and like what is actually happening and what is this mind control programming. Like that's where we're really at. Sorry, huge rant, but I feel like I just dropped, I dropped the microphone in a way too. Like that was a lot of information, but I feel like it needed to be said. And I don't know if, like, Sean, you want to say something, or if you want to add to that.
Oh, no, I'm good, babe.
Okay.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I love it. I'm glad you're talking about this stuff. Barely anyone talks about it. I'm like, oh wow, there's nobody really goes into this subject. Yeah, the mind mazes. I tuned into that a bunch of effects. It's one of the psionic locking mechanisms around storing away a gold treasure chest of part of a self, like with abilities, memory, awareness, aspects of self. The astral is very interesting. So it's, for people that don't understand the astral fully, it's both the incorporation with the spirit, which centers in the heart, and the mind, and the astral body has access points of its control panel both in the heart and the crown. It interacts as a astral projection. Part of the body that like goes into ghost form after it dies is the astral realm, in between worlds of incarnation. It's different than the dream realms, but you can experience it while dreaming. And then there's many different realms within, all around the space, compressed spaces. It's a wild west of crazy shit that's going on in the astral realm of Earth, and then the other planes. There's also for each individual an internal astral realm that they can create, because it's part of mind energy and psions and mental forms and constructs and thought forms and imagination and the ability to perceive and create. So there'll be all these different things that we make. And you mentioned the hallway of doors, which barely anyone talked about when I first tuned into it. I call it the nexus point of the mind, or the consciousness, or the soul, or the
Yeah,
DNA.
which shout out to Drago. He's the one who showed me that.
Wonderful. And
It's like the Matrix, where there's all those doorways. You know what I'm talking about? It's just like that.
it's like summoning
And
the
like the key holder, that's kind of like you. You're like the guy where you can go into the mind and you're like, hey, you're coming with, and you got the keys, where these doors were like, how do I get in? Or there's some weird character like, hey, you can't come through. You walk through and you're like, hey, no, fuck you. Womp. Like, that's what you literally, bro. That's part of your job here on Earth. And this is not something we have talked about privately yet. Part of your job here on Earth, and I'm saying it publicly in this interview, is going through people's minds and clearing those gateways and clearing those doorways and getting rid of those energies that block people from being able to look into their altars' memories, or even the memories of their referee altars that never really existed in a physical body, which is just meeting those altars, like, and integrating them and understanding. So that is a huge part of what you're doing as an energy healer. There's a lot of different types of work that people are doing. And that is a unique role that I'm sure you're already working with now, but you're going to step into that more and more as time goes on because it's such a unique role, and there's not a great deal of people on this earth that can do that.
You appreciate that. Yeah. And for those, I am aware of that. And I try to do things with a people's permission, but like in the greater collective consciousness, I'm looking for the threads of negative attachment that go to stolen abilities ultimately at different invasion points that like use all these different methods to expand and dominate people. And I try to pull that out of them from cores of the core point of where it emanated from, so that it just dissolves from everyone's mind all at once, because there's layers of mind control on this planet that are keeping everyone into boxes that keep them from waking up, expanding, greater memory, greater awareness, greater IQ, and then questioning this shit show that's going on of clown world that makes people forget who they are and stay in a box watching television and going to work and sleep and work and sleep and over again until and we're not questioning anything, and then it
It's
these
a
laws.
pleasant cycle to be in if you've got it, right. But that's part of the reason, that's part of the problem is if you're programmed enough, that's really not too terrible of a cycle to be in.
Yeah, I've been in that one before. It's
Exactly, it's a
Oh,
self.
just numb myself with some chemicals here and there, do this and that.
yeah,
And you're good to go. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's is the norm. You're right, and it's a problem, and it is because people are trying to run from themselves. Like for instance, while we're on the subject, we both come from Appleton, Wisconsin, and Appleton, Wisconsin is the #1 drunkest city in the United States of America.
yeah,
Look it up if you don't believe me. And there's a reason for that. It is because these people that live in this town are all suppressing their emotions, and their emotions, they don't know where they're coming from, but it comes from their memories. So in suppressing their emotions, they're suppressing their memories, which they don't know they have. They're not aware they have. And by keeping themselves drunk enough, high enough, whatever it is, they're able to suppress these memories and stuff, which
yeah. And people act like it's a point of pride that like we're like it's like Appleton and then Green Bay and Oshkosh. Usually those top three are like the top three like drunkest cities in America. And it's like it's not something to be proud of, but people back where we come from, some people act like it is.
yeah, and it's a huge part of programming is to keep these people their emotions dulled down and to keep them in these small towns in this box, this Truman Show fishbowl reality. I know I might sound like a crazy psychotic person when I say that to some people, but it's true. A great deal of these people in these towns are assets. They're in programs. I'm not saying it's everybody. Some of the people are just, hanging out, filler. They're not part of programs, but a lot of these people are, and they're being monitored and their lives are being controlled. And, I could name like 15 movies that kind of show it. Truman Show, they cloned Tyrone, Us, the list goes on. I mean, it's just our lives are being controlled and manufactured. And if you're a normal filler person where your life doesn't really affect the timeline, then no offense. I'm not one of these you're an NPC you don't matter kind of people. I think everyone matters, and anybody who is a NPC can break out of that. And I feel like it's a way to dehumanize people. But at the same time, like I feel like it is true, like there's a program that makes people not see the big picture. You know what I mean? And yeah, I just feel like there's a value in examining these memories and this stuff and trying to look at it and realizing it. And unfortunately, like you said, most people are so caught up in the work cycle and their normal lives that even if they do have the capability to kind of see what's happening to them and they do have some sort of awareness, well, oh, I woke up and they might be having memories, emotions, or whatever. Oh, time for work. They gotta get to work. You know what I mean? And then when they get off work, well, I got plans to. There's no time to think about reality, to think about who you are, to think about your role in the universe. They've got people caught in these cycles and stuff like that. And again, like I'm saying, it's not It's not like everybody's like that doesn't realize what's going on is an NPC, but like they don't matter. Like you can step into being a player character, but there are people that they fuck with more because they are very much so player characters who they can tell. Let's put it this way: you put a marble on a sheet, right? I don't have a sheet here. I don't have a marble, but a heavier marble will make the sheet droop more, right? It'll make the droop. It's a heavier. It'll make the sheet droop more. Well, a lot of us in these programs that are used for these time travel programs. I'm sorry for going on a rant because I don't even remember where I started anymore. I'm just getting brain fog, but I got to keep going. But this droop, the more you affect the timeline, the more you droop the fabric of reality, like a marble that's being sunk into a sheet. It's the same thing, right? And those are the people that they target more. And it's not to say that the people who don't droop the sheet don't matter, because everybody's vibration is tuning in everybody's vibration. We're all part of the same chorus that creates reality. But yeah, it's just so like again, like it's weird. I'm not trying to contradict myself, but like anybody who is an NPC, which is a not a good slang term, I don't think. It oversimplifies people and dehumanizes them. They have the potential to become a not NPC, and that's why you can't just call them that. Like there's probably a point in your life, right? I know me, and you too, probably, Sean, where you really were like an NPC, right? Like you're just living the normal life that everybody did, totally brainwashed.
Go
You
to
didn't,
work,
yeah,
watch the next, go to the movie theater,
you
watch the
didn't,
next
you weren't
Marvel
looking into
movie.
any of this shit.
Like,
And so
that's it.
who the fuck are any of us in these programs to look down upon people who do the same shit that we used to do? Just because we were lucky enough or smart enough or whatever, even if it doesn't make us better than them to have broken out of it. And when you look at how traumatic it is to lift up these memories, into your mind and process them, can you blame these people for just kind of going through and doing the loop and being sheep? Can you really blame them? So it's kind of up to us to build another reality and create a place where the people who are to create a world reality where the people who are NPCs don't have to feel as uncomfortable about stepping forward and being like, wait a minute, I'm not an NPC. You know what I mean? Because like that's why we talk like this on the internet publicly, even though we look like crazy people, right? Is because we know that there are other people like us who understand it. And the more and more of us who understand it and create a cohesive timeline of events and just the reality that people can understand, because they do share it, it's reality. The more we get the normies, the NPCs, which, like I said, I don't think it's okay to act like anybody's better than anybody. We're all creatures of God. That's why I don't like those terms, but it does help get people who are more programmed, which is, I think, a more healthy, better way to say it. It does get people who are more programmed onto the less programming one step at a time. And one thing that's important for people to remember too about this stuff, because you look at people who are more heavily programmed than you, right? And these are our neighbors, these are our friends, these are people we love, people we care about, right? People in our lives we care about deeply. And there is no point in sitting at a table and arguing with them over stuff and getting mad and da da da. It's better to just be in their lives and slowly interject and slowly just help them. Because what by talking, when we target people, we're like, you're brainwashed and you don't understand. Blah. That doesn't really work. But when you just kind of hang out with people and they're like, have you ever thought about time travel? That's just one example. You don't have to go that crazy when you're asking questions, but if you just do it in a way that's friendly, and that's what the big thing about this is about, is like people have to understand energy. I'm going on this rant right now, but I think it's okay. The people have to understand energy, and if you're tuning into energy, it's frequency. Frequency is everything, right? The world's a radio, tune in the frequency. Well, if you're tuning into a more positive energy, then that's going to help things change. And if your energy is everybody's an NPC and everyone there's no hope, and then that's the world you live in. But if you're like, wait, like even the people who are programmed, like they could be like me and wake up and there's hope and I care about my neighbors. Like they want you to think, oh, my neighbors want to kill me. Like, oh, they're either they're right-wing Trump supporters who are out to get me, or they're Antifa who are out to get me. It's one or the other, right? Like they want everyone like programmed into this dichotomies. But what it really is we're all in the fucking same thing together. And if you're on the internet and you talk to someone in the conversation, you might just like argue. But that certain person you argue with on the internet, if you're like just in the same room, you're like, oh, yeah. But you understand my side. I'm like, yeah, no, actually, that makes sense. Like this system we have set up, even us communicating this way, we're breaking through a barrier of mind control, but it's set up to mind control people, right? It's set up to make people go in these echo chambers and argue with each other and not look at the big picture. And I guess that's just a big part of what we're here to do, not just like going in people's minds, Sean, and breaking through their, oh, this is amazing, your crazy astral world, which most people don't understand. It's also literal in the real world. Like we have to go in there and be like, hey, what about this? And the reality is, and I want everybody watching this to understand that the reality is when you go, what about this? You don't do it like, what about this, you fucking brainwashed sheep who's a moron? You took the vax and you're an idiot. And how are you not seeing this, you idiot? No, it's not how you do it. You just go, hey, what about this? Have you ever looked at it? This is kind of crazy. Have you ever looked at this before? Interesting, huh? You don't approach it angrily with sadness, sorrow, anger. Like I said, all this is about frequency. So when you see all the stuff they're doing to try to make people like, oh, like angry, and you just like kind of see it as like political theater, and you're like, wait a minute, and you just react to it as just like impartial. They hate that. They hate that. And that doesn't mean that don't react to world events, don't care about world events, don't react to anything. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you just have to realize that the world is a theater, the world is a stage. These people are putting on a show and they want to manipulate your mind. If you keep that in mind, and the biggest thing is not get along with your neighbor, think that people who are different than you are scary and you need to kill them. That's the biggest thing, because their control system revolves around divide and conquer 100%. And I can say this as a time traveler who worked hardcore and psyops in a way people cannot understand. That's the biggest fucking tool in their treasure chest, is dividing people and making people who could easily get along and love each other and be brothers and sisters hate each other. That is the biggest tool they have in their chest. That is psychological manipulation. It's mind control. And the more we realize this is, it's simple. Anytime they're like, I hate this group of people, fucking hate them. They're out to get you. They're gonna get you, this group of people. Oh, they want to make you that part of that group of people. Oh, like anytime you see that, which happens over and over and over and over throughout history, it's not that groups of people aren't there, they're being nefarious and we can't ask questions, but you do have to ask questions when someone just wants you to just hate a whole fucking group of people where most of them might not know each other, may not even agree politically or religiously or whatever. This goes to religion. This goes to what people would call LGBT. This goes to philosophies and how people should live as far as communism or capitalism. It's so many things. And all I'm saying is they want people to not talk, want people to not be able to find solutions, want people to fight wars and drop bombs on each other and hate each other. And the biggest tool in our treasure chest is the people who are not for this siphoning of soul energy to create this hateful, fucked up world, is that all we have to do is have more understanding and love in our hearts for people and have conversations with people in real life, not the internet, in person, in real fucking life. If we do that, we can heal the world. And I'm not saying that having great conversations on the internet doesn't help either, but when you're in real life, you can't have these like walls to hide behind. Like it breaks down the programming. This internet right here, us talking like this is part of the programming. It is literally possible to open up a portal. Womp. All right, we're gonna talk now. Hey, do we want other people to see this? Yeah, we want other people to see this. All right. Womp. All right, now other people can tune in if they want. All right, psychic channel opened. Womp. And then other people, they can watch, and you can literally make it so they can interact if they want, or just watch. But nah, they took that away from us. They stole that from us. So now we're on the internet with little chat logs on the side. Like it's a big part of it is they're
Psychic
stealing
internet.
us from ourselves. You know, I'm sorry, I just wanted to hear you.
Yeah, the psychic internet, right? Yeah, and I agree. And yeah, people, I don't really like the limitation of perspective of what a PC is from a boxing in of asleep people and to AI to chess moves and all that. To me, it's like chess players that are dormant, waiting to be activated, or usually being
Yeah,
puppeted.
no, but it's true. People can be controlled, but you have to understand that everybody's a human being, and that's the problem. We have to fight against mind control because nobody deserves that.
And I think that also one of the most talking about like waking up to abilities and shit like that. Like, I think this narrative, there's this, hero's journey, epic narrative that gets put into our culture of like, you're either you're either born a ultra special snowflake star child or you're not. And if you're not, you're never gonna be able to get there. You're never gonna get abilities. It's either the special people and the not special people. And if you're
Everyone.
not special people, you're never gonna get there. I think that's one of the things that's been holding me back. I can say I think that programming is gone now, but I think that is one of the most like destructive idea. Like, think about like the Star Wars movie when she was supposed to be just a nobody who had these special abilities, but everyone hated that, so they went and they changed it. Like, I think that's such a horrible idea that like you're either this or you're not, and if you're not, you're never gonna get there. You know what I mean? So I do think that anybody can wake up to this stuff. Anybody can.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everyone can
and a lot of these people who people
get.
are pointing at and calling NPCs and saying are heavily programmed and they don't matter. Some of these people could just be just in deep in the trenches, fighting in other realities and doing crazy, wild time travel stuff as you, but they're just living their NPC lives. Like, trust me, like I remember that about Apple. That was one of the wildest things about me is I would see a guy who's like just living a normal life. He's got his nice girlfriend, working his normal job, see him at the bar every once in a while. And in my mind, I'm like remembering Mars, remembering like dragging him out of a cave, like because he was getting attacked by spiders, like wild stuff. And it's like, I want to be like, hey, guy, have you ever been on Mars? But I know there's no way that would ever make any sense to him. And so I think people need to understand that it's not all like really spiritually aware people like you and myself, Sean. Where we're in it right now and we're fighting a spiritual war right now and kind of soldiers right now, right? Not everybody's like that. Some people are what you would call NPCs and they're dulled down and they're living very normal lives and they're just a part of the system. And unfortunately, some of these same people who are in these programs with us would be the same people going on the internet and calling us crazy and saying we're stupid. People who are literally in these programs with us, because this isn't like 10 people. This is like millions of people, guys. That's why I'm a whistleblower. If it was like 10 people, I'd probably like, oh, whatever, fuck it, not a big deal. I'm like one of 10, whatever. No, I'm one of millions. So that's one of the reasons why I talk about it. Like, so yeah, once you understand that, I don't know, it's just like camaraderie is important, right? Like the idea of like only you matter, look out for yourself, like that's shitty. Like our families matter. Like the family you come from, unfortunately, some people come from crappy families and there's nothing you can do that. And it's totally like respect to anybody who's like, I gotta leave my family behind. But if you come from a good family, like it is important to fucking hold on to that family. Is supposed to be important. Your neighbors are supposed to be important. Like your community, like all that stuff's supposed to be important. And that's really where it starts. Is like community, like talking with each other on these podcasts and stuff, but also just like not being afraid to make friends with your neighbors that you literally live next to and stuff and be a part of your community and like just go out and do stuff. It doesn't mean when I say go out and do stuff, it doesn't mean conferences where you're talking about SSP. Like, no, just go out and if you like punk rock music, be a part of that community. If you like EDM, go out to EDM shows, meet EDM people or whatever. Or if you're a mountain biker, go to fucking mountain bike conventions. Like, go out there and be a part of the world. That's really important. Like it's really important we interact with each other and we realize we're not separate from each other. I think that's what the internet's trying to do. I think the internet is like this, like we can use it for positive things, and I'm not saying it's all bad, but the way it separates us from each other is very nefarious because you can just like log in, have all this communication, talk to all these people, but then like what about real life interaction, which human beings need, right? Like we need real life interaction. There's just so much happening where it's just like, yeah, I think the biggest message that's just been coming out, the energetic message that my higher self, or what do you want to call it, has to shine through, is that we are like an organism. We are together. We are not an oil slick. We are blood. We are flowing. We are life itself. We don't have to be an oil slick. We're an oil slick right now, but we don't have to be an oil slick. We can be the lifeblood of Earth. We can regenerate the Earth. We can cultivate the Earth. We can be caretakers like we're supposed to be. And so, yeah, I'm always like really big on not being like sunshine and rainbows over positivity because I think it can be harmful. But at the same time, like people like wake up, like we have a lot of power. We can create that kind of future. We can create a brighter world, and we can change things. And it's as simple as just understanding like we need to worship Mother Earth. We need to honor each other. Community is important. Brotherhood, sisterhood, whatever you want to call it, partnership between human beings in general. It doesn't matter whether it's friendship, relationships of love or romantic types, plutonic. We are supposed to be connected to each other. And we have right now, the internet is creating false connection where it's not soul level. You're not in the same room. You're not feeling the person. You're not, because someone can be different from you and think some things from you that are different from you. And if you're in the same room, you can kind of pick up on the vibe better and then have like a more of a conversation. But if on the internet, you can just be like, well, this is all fucked up. Fuck you. Like it's different when you're in person. And yeah, I just think that's just like a huge thing that maybe is not talked about enough, is the fact that like when we meet in person and actually talk about things. And I'm not talking about with shitty people who are like fascists who just they don't care. They think fuck it all. Like those people you don't need to go negotiate with. But on a soul level, I think most human beings do want the best thing for reality, and that even though we might have disagreements and stuff like that, we do need to communicate with each other and figure this stuff out, and we can. And yeah, I just think that's just so much of it. It's just like it's all about communication, dude. Like opening up channels to communicate. Like what Drago did with me with the QHHT, we did with her. All he did was open up channels for us to communicate with ourselves. That's all I did. He opened up channels to communicate. And then what are we doing here right now, Sean? We're opening up a channel to communicate. And what can we do in our communities in physical real life? Open up channels to communicate. And to, a lot of us, like we're all talking about in these this is another thing I'll bring up. I'm not just a rant, and I don't mind it, and I hope you don't mind it either. A lot of people in the SSP truther world are like, oh, we gotta build underground bunkers and stock up on processed foods and stuff. What is that, right? That's wild. No, what you should be doing, that's silly. What you should be doing is figuring out a contingency with your neighbors and getting you and your neighbors and the people around you. And I'm a hypocrite because I'm not doing this right now, but I should be.
Well, we have at least, we're one of the things that
We do have a garden right in front of us.
Yeah,
right
one of the things
literally right in front of the window.
Very lucky to have here in this place we live is we actually know I've lived in apartments where I'm just completely cut off from all my neighbors around me. We actually know most of the people and are friends with most of the people in this building.
Which isn't common, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's not common, especially if you live in a more modern building. We live in a really old one. But
we actually have a SpongeBob. We have Sandy Cheeks on our doorway, and my neighbor next to us, who we don't hang out every day or anything, but when we see each other, it's always pleasant. And they got Squidward on their door, and we're trying to make it a thing. I don't know. The community is good. That is something that's been stolen from us on our world. Like for instance, the breakaway planets that I think are more healthy, where they got things more figured out. There's like hockey, like I don't know, that's just like group stuff. Like that like when for us that just ends in high school. Like there's like what they call co-curricular activities And then you get to high school, it's just like, bye, you just hang
Yeah,
out.
there's a lack of third places.
Yeah,
in our
there's
culture.
there's
Like
not come
places where
around.
people can go to just hang out,
Yeah.
not spend like a lot, not spend money or not spend a lot of money. There used to
And
be a lack
so
of
in that subject, right? Like there's not places where people can just hang out and do stuff and without feeling the need to spend tons of money. There's also shit, I'm just having a brain fart. I just literally had like a thump coming in my brain, pull thought out. I'm sorry, sweetie.
Yeah,
Oh,
with
no.
you, with unity, it's like a micro macro thing with the cells uniting. Any system that is closed off in an ego, the ego is there as a survival mechanism. It's a defense barrier from external forces. If it's corrupted too much, it means too much external forces are coming in and imprinting, and then it turns into a prison. The way to get something out of that, whether it be a cell or an organ functioning and communicating and interacting with the rest, alters communicating with the rest or other people, then it's about making the whole thing feel safe enough with love, healing, wholeness, fortressing, safety, defense, ability to protect oneself, and then be able to defend their boundaries. The two individuals putting up their boundaries in the point where they don't harm each other anymore, if that was even a thing, like say anything with marriage counseling, to where they state their boundaries. I don't want them doing this anymore. They keep throwing their shadow at me. They keep doing this. Once they start communicating that, and then both deciding, hey, I'm going to put up enough energy to stopping whatever's coming through that I was unaware of, and then the barriers stay up, they can start communicating and crossing back and forth things of value, and then supporting each other. And then it's like a dance where they start to come together. And
A big part of that, right, is focusing your intention, right? Am I correct in saying that? Like it's about focusing your intention, right? And so much about that is what it's all about is mind control is about they make you passive, right? And then the world is going on and you just react to it. And through just reacting, you're being controlled because you are a domino that they're pushing down and making you react to things and making the dominoes fall in the way they want. Whereas if you are not reactive and instead you influence and push out energy, that's the opposite of mind control. And it's all about intention. Most people live their lives, Sean, without any intention at all. They're like, I don't know why I'm here.
and they let themselves be
I don't
programmed.
know what I want to do. So it's just like, all right, be programmed. And they're just passive lives. And like I said, I don't want to say that people that live passive lives don't matter and that their souls aren't important, but it would be a better world if we had less people like that, unfortunately. That's the reality. There's no way to sugarcoat it.
To
People
resolve
not
that,
be passive.
the method is they're essentially in pain. Everyone has a secret war inside them, and they're overwhelmed. They're in survival mode. They're stuck in the root chakra. They're in base reality. They're consciousness. They're distracted. They're not able to function at a higher level, and they're using all their energy. So they have to sustain themselves in their reality so that they can't go out externally. And in order to, once they feel safer, more healed, they heal all the pain inside them, then they feel courageous enough to go outward, and then they start exploring and becoming aware of things, which is also them becoming aware of the issue that is they're diluting with alcohol or some type of addiction, which gives them momentary bliss, which makes them think that they're happy, but they're not really happy if they're in lack to begin with. So, and that's based on the emotions you're talking about being compressed, that needs them to face to resolve, which then they understand the problem that they're facing, which then opens up awareness. A lot of people wake up from betrayal, which is a very obvious, oh, there's some fuckery going on that's not making my reality worse. And then they have to become aware of it to make it better. And that starts amplifying their awareness and consciousness. But as they go within, they realize they had all this stuff already to work on all along that they've been diluting with alcohol and drugs to escape, which is understandable because people need to maintain themselves and they do it at a pace. But some people aren't doing it at a pace. So if there's more healing awareness to be brought to people so that they face these things, so that they free up another layer of weight on their shoulders. They get more and more, and they start realizing, oh, wow, this is working. This is making my life better. Then they start freeing themselves in the path. They start releasing these veils. The veils themselves are a boundary and a quarantine that's set up as a defense mechanism till a person's ready to see past it when they're safe enough. And the same thing with the rest of the planet. And then, yeah, these nexus points in the mind, people can see these corridors of compartmentalization that will be ready for them to explore when they're ready to integrate it. And then more, what comes with that? Most people that go to sleep, they don't realize there's a benefit through going through this fire. The house is on fire, but we're asleep. And like all the people are asleep, and you just want to wake them up and like, hey, the house is on fire, but they're like, I don't want to deal with that. But if they run through the fire, they can escape to a greater, freer, more empowered environment that's away from their own suffering and destruction. And once people realize what is behind all these altars, what's behind integrating all this stuff, dealing with all this suffering, this sadness, the suicidal programs, there's gold nuggets, there's gold treasure chests, there's gold hoards behind the dragon that you face. There's big superpowers that are being compressed around these altars that are being compartmentalized, that these government agencies target us in the first place because they have rare DNA and mutations that they trigger rare energy emissions and give a signal to these monitoring systems by ETs or the military to go abduct those people because they want people that can do unique things. And then they abuse them and force trigger them in these torturous kind of rooms that force evolve them out of stress. And then they program the altar with abuse and dissociation so that they can control the memory. And then they take them off to other programs and then put them back in with amnesia barriers and other things so that they just are going along life, taking care of themselves, but are used as a workforce whenever they can. And it's mostly the future militaries that have negative timeline, negative controlling forces that are taking people and doing this without permission. But then there's also a light force that that most people I don't hear talking about, that's combating that too.
Alpha Squad.
About that.
Alpha Squad. Yeah, there's positive groups that are working towards eliminating these groups, but there's some people presented it very fantastical, very fantasy, like, oh, all the bases are shut down, they're done already, and it's like, nah, man. Like, yeah, fortunately, part of it is true. There are like actual military organizations with very powerful people behind them going in and shutting down some of these operations. But at the same time, there's so many clandestine operations that it's not like they can just shut them all down overnight. They have to find them all first. And they're more or less still, maybe I'm not being enthusiastic, but it seems like they're more or less still towards the beginning of that process than the end. Don't quote me on that, but there's either way, there's still a lot of work to do for people to be like, oh, they took care of it all. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of work to be done still, because there's just not one or two groups doing this. There's a lot, and it's a lot to go down there and clean out these deep underground installations in the underworld and get rid of all this bad stuff that's going on. It's not simple. It doesn't happen overnight. With
Time travel exists on other timelines and other worlds, and they're willing to replace and take resources from other places to keep their chess move going here. Yeah, it's hard. So I don't expect it to end in that significant manner. It's more of like a greater unfoldment of consciousness, and at least what I found with psionics. Here's a cool example of a remedy for people. So like, there's a healing remedy for the people that have gone through this, and there's the abusers that entangled with people. How do you resolve them? Well, you don't really want to be a negative being. You don't want to just like destroy them or, you know, send assassins after. I mean, there's people that do that, and sometimes you got to do that. But psionically, I see this as a remediable thing. So depending on the layer of evil, like there could be just handlers that are mind controlled and abused, and they can be brought to peace and goodness. So for instance, like you or me, if we got these interesting altars that we're going through and we find there's booby traps on them from integrating, such as what I found, which this is verbatim what I found, so I'll fill you in on what it is. It's essentially that I track back this suicide program initiated upon integration. How it works is this is mine. So there might be other ways they do this. There's psionic abilities to take sadness energy and then dump it on a person and overwhelm them. And that is felt by the emotional body and the empathic body, either stored in an altar or the emotional body or different organs like the liver, and then overloads those systems and fills up. I know people out there that have experienced similar things like this, and you can resolve it either by transmuting it, getting it off you by collapsing it into a portal, getting it, distributing it to where it needs to go. Because if it doesn't transmute, then it has a purpose. It's usually generated by some asshole that deserves it, as like sadness is a reflector to say, you're doing the wrong thing. There's something wrong in the reality. You need to pay attention to that, change your life. And so like the arc politicians, evil dark sorcerers, all this deals with demons to like the cremation of care, get rid of negative emotions off them so they don't feel them. Their own punishment generates it when they do dark things like rape people or kill or whatever, that you start producing and generating your own punishment. As a system for that. So they push that onto the populace or specific people, or they rape individuals like kids and stuff, and then they transfer the negative energy to them. And then it's like a flowing river to them. It's annoying. So what I read in this is that they made a way to keep a person from integrating their altars if they see it as a high asset that would mess up their operations if the person was able to integrate it, get the superpowers, etc. It's an artificial way. There's like some thing where they torture. This one, they tortured a kid a lot, and they fractured their soul into like 10,000 pieces, and then they killed the kid and then captured the soul of the kid in like some type of soul containment thing, and then they took one at a time the soul compartment, and the kid was tortured to the point where they dumped their negative emotion of suicide that the dark being, the dark sorcerer, the abuser, earned by doing so many evil things. They transferred it to the kid, and then the little soul parts of the kid are then taken through some type of implanting system into the person's altar in their solar plexus, and to attach to that altar with a bunch of attachments to trigger upon if they start to integrate it. And so that emotion of suicide starts dumping out. The way to resolve that is to compress and quarantine around the altar, to compress and quarantine around the soul shard of the whatever the person that's not you, that is added as that trigger suicide, and keep it closed off, and then start to detach it from that part of the soul. The altars are soul, mental consciousness, ego altar is the entanglement of an altar. To detach from that, then collapse their portal into a little quarantine pocket dimension, heal it, purify it, because the sadness isn't theirs, it's dumped on them by the dark sorcerer. You have to distribute that, and by purifying it, put sticky sealing on it to then magnetically pull back, because it wants to go back to the purpose it was created for, which is as a punishment for the being that's doing the wrong action, to portal back to their soul in like a pull, magnetic pull. Some of the sadness wants to go to getting rid of the layers of bullshit that keep it off of them. That was done by the deal with the demon. And then some of it wants to be turned into an empathic body, because it doesn't do anything if the being is a psychopath and they can't feel those emotions. So it wants to turn into empathic ability so they feel it deeply. Then the rest wants to be the sadness overwhelm that will relieve itself off the evil being if they start doing good, they start doing retribution, start making up for things. But depending on how evil they were, because I've ran across like people that just rape hundreds of kids in these programs. The amount of suicide program that comes off them in generation is so big that it doesn't expect them to change. But that's if they don't change, then that's their punishment to where it brings them to stopping themselves. And then if there's the person psionic enough to do all that, which you do, and you can have faith in yourself and your source to do it as you collapse it down out of your field. And then you get good at it enough to then unite with all the other people that have those parts of that kid or whatever in them as like the suicide program. Then you can get those off of those people. Then you re-heal and bring the wholeness by clearing it of all the demon bullshit and attachment and making it feel safe, fortressing it, healing it, bringing it back to wholeness, healing the soul, and then helping it pass on. If it's
So
usually
what
it's
you're saying is
dead
people's
already.
fractures of their souls can attach to different bodies than the ones they inhabit and stuff?
Yep. They implant souls. It's unfortunate. I don't wish any of this was true. This is the layers upon layers of things that people will come aware of that they're suppressing. And to go into that, this world is more interesting than we see or feel. There's a lot going on the ground and in space. The world has way more psychics and people with superpowers than is appears. It has 3 times more than what appears. What we have is this deep system of monitoring that limits and abducts people that have it at a young age, and then they steal or use the ability for their purposes and then compartmentalize it so it doesn't express itself so they can keep the population in this miasma and low awareness. The Earth is wanting to increase how many abilities there are on this planet, but we have to resolve the parasitic thing that's going on here, or else it devolves into another timeline, which I've also seen as well. I've had dreams like in Scotland. One time I had a dream that lasted for months. It was crazy. It was so HD and bright. It was, and then I read into it when I came back. It was another timeline, a version of me that was on the run from a hostile government that hunted people with abilities. And I was part of a group that were trying to be on the run, prevent them from killing our friends, trying to save ones that they captured. And it just went on for months. And I woke up from it, I was like, what the fuck? And then I was crying, and I was like, whoa. And so there are timelines that the Earth is testing where she amplifies it with more abilities being demonstrated in people that are being born on this planet. And there are things to be resolved on those timelines before parts of them can merge, and then we get the remedy, and she's like learning from them so that we can have more abilities on this timeline. But there's a lot to be discovered with what's going on this planet that's but again, for the people like, what's beyond all this? What's the point? Why I should just stay asleep and watch football and not remember any of this. There are abilities you have inside all this layers, these mazes, these things in your mind that have external forces that came in and fucked with it to steal or use you and make an altar that once you get through it all and resolve it, then you can merge it and then demonstrate that ability and this timeline. And some of them really
Football,
do and learn.
football.
Football.
NFL.
Yeah.
Go Pack Go. What do you mean remember? What if I want to go out and get drunk with my friends and watch the Packer game? No. Yeah.
Yeah. Why?
It's
Exactly.
programming, right? There's nothing you can do about it. But, well, no, there's something you can do about it. Yeah, even people who are heavily programmed. I said heavenly programmed. That's probably a Freudian slip.
Boy,
People that are heavily programmed can still get out of the program. And it doesn't start with people like us staying quiet. People like us are kind of trying to create an environment where it's okay to talk about this stuff, right? Try to make it more normalized. And hopefully through doing that, some of these people who are shielding themselves can go into their memories because they realize they're not alone. That's the goal. That's the hope.
right. Yeah, and you're not alone. And all these emotions you can resolve and transform them into things that make build yourself. You can turn it into the fertilizer for your garden of happiness. Every negative emotion you can turn into the opposite, and you can determine what that is. Everything is in this world is to transcend that would otherwise block you, and we're here to master those and then bring those teachings out to the world so we can master it faster. I read a bunch of the timelines. What the fuck do we got to do to get rid of all these problems and heal ourselves and deal with all this stuff? There's all these parasitic forces that are in lack from our species, humanity, other species, the Draco, the all, you know, this stuff. And they're all in lack. They had some big wounds happen to them. And so they're like using us, abusing us, taking from us something that they want. So like I find it all like cords attached in different parts of our body, in generators and in the heart field. And if you like you were saying, amplify love and unity and forgiveness and wholeness and remembering and get to know the person. Like Abraham Lincoln said, I hate that person. I must know them better. If you understand them in their shoes, like why they had to be the way they are, then it starts to expand into where when you feel empathy for another, you can you feel them, you can change it. You bring them that wholeness healing. It's like a like heart walls, they come up as layers of trauma, overwhelm, attachment, parasites, demons, what you know, other psionic, parasitic, vampiric users, whatever, they're attached. And they build up this wall that it's like is a heavy coat on a person and that makes them numb or not feel the love and happiness and joy and bliss that comes with a heart expansion. And that also comes with knowingness. And the way to resolve it is see each one of those attachments like they have a consciousness going back and behind them. They're like a little baby bird that fell and broke its wing. They lost the ability to maybe create love or light or never even experience in the first place. But they're all healable and out of their fractured non-wholeness. You can use always loving attachment first because of course evil wants to influence and fuck with you in the beginning. They don't really want to like teach you lessons and stuff, though it's all a teaching and a lesson ultimately if you don't let it hurt you. So loving detached from their ability to affect you, then surround it like a blanket around the baby and then you're swaddling it. You see yourself as a mother, cosmic mother and father for the universe, healing those forces, those demons, wholeness, healing, remembering they're ultimately you. That stop harming yourself, stop harming me. I am you. Bringing and sped up time, everything they need to build up to their foundation to where they don't need you anymore. They don't need to attach to you. They have the wholeness. They can make their own light. They can feel love again. You accept them for who they are, which penetrates to their heart. And you shine that light and that love, and then you bring it to a point where they can take off like a bird again. And they're like, wow, you healed, you cured me. And then with boundaries, of course, because they need to earn trust, you can bring them to where all your enemies are allies. And you just do this with hugging yourself and feeling that heart wall, that's the heaviness, and you giving it and shining it love. And each one of those walls rip off. And part of it turns like part of it's the healing of that consciousness. Part of it's like wood coming off and being fueled to that fire of love and getting it more and more expanded and getting it to where it can shine brightly in even the darkest of places, even the darkest of hells, to where anything that comes at you, you're bringing it to your side, and then it respects you, loves you, and then it fights for you against worse evils. And then you start resolving from the foundation strong the whole of existence and timelines. Everyone light, neutral, and then dark uniting against the evils. And then even understanding the evils of why they became evil in the first place, which is evil is a word for harm and stealing and to what is ultimately you. And then like a cancer kind of infecting. And then figure out why that is. And then you can get into the deepness of the goodness polarity by understanding what it takes to heal evil and then bringing that. And then that turns against the worst evil and then keeps pushing it back. And eventually more and more of the system of all the universe resolves and heals and the cancer recedes and quarantines and heals.
Yes. Is there anything more you want to talk about before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I don't want to keep you forever. I wanted to go into something that might help you. So I was reading things that I found on people that hold back memories. So I'll list them and you can look at this video more. And since you're a Psionic user, I don't really have to go into them in too much detail, but anyone out there that wants their help with these things, I can help you with them.
Well, I definitely do, that's for sure.
I'd love to trade with you both because you got great, amazing wisdom and value. And we can go back and forth. So things holding back your memories. But these are for both of you, and you guys work well with each other. You got a team, and you got rid of a lot of the other things. You got rid of like over like 13 big memory blocks that I see on most people by yourselves. So that's really impressive. So there are matrices that are put on people. These like attachment field constructs that have intelligence that simulate and steal and drain to an area. There are curses on the memory that also steal, and they're like from psionic users. Prisons, which are just attachments that like you can cultivate the opposite of prisons, freedom energy, and explode them or capture them so that you can then do either. You can even transmute them into the opposite prisons, which frees and allows for memory flow. Domination, which beings trying to dominate the memory and then they program something. Harvesting systems that harvest memory energy, which if you have a lot of memory energy, you can supply into systems of remembering, as well as eventual really good goal, photographic memory, which is super great. And I see those run really well for those people that are born with that. Drain systems that drain it out of you, both the energy and the memory. Illness, which causes there's like different types, physical illness, mental, emotional, and spiritual. This goes into kind of a mental. It's not anything that's not curable, and then you can do it with healing. Neutralization energy, which is a pain in the ass. I've been I was getting a lot of it after I went to the conference, and I was like, and honestly, it's a pain in the ass a little bit, but I'm also really excited about anytime I get it because it's rare. And then I get anything that's sent at me, I master. So then I got really good at neutralization after that. So I'm like, ooh, yeah. But it essentially stops the psionic use or magic or anything of a system. This for memory. Then you have the big three. Well, actually, let's say four. So memory loss, which is the same thing as memory destruction or memory wipe. The memory theft, which is a whole bunch of types where it's stolen from you, but you can retrieve it. Screen memories, which is an overlay onto a memory that most of them are making it blank, but they can replace it with a memory that makes you not like look at it or just thinks it normal. And then amnesia barriers, which is probably you want to do last because they're the most traumatic and they're induced usually organically, but then there's a synthetic artificial method which the being knows how to do, which is to induce enough trauma to make a compartmentalization or DID in an altar to where they're storing away trauma, and the amnesia barrier is a defense mechanism. So if they're not ready for it, that to resolve takes either healing the trauma or triggering it. So those are going to be interesting when you go through them all, because then things are going to flood back like a lot more because you're in more than you know, and you've already listed a lot, so it's very powerful. Thank you for doing that. And there's a positive force. This is a very positive force that's supporting you, that wants you to do well, that is thankful that you're bringing this out to the public because it activates a snowball of many other people that bring their awareness and then change the timeline. And it's been combating a lot of the things that are fucking with you. So know that and unite more with that and empower it. And as you empower yourself, that shines more, and know that every project that fuck with you is another parasite attaching to you, that attached to your heart wall, that you can resolve. Or either some of the people you can, even if they're evil, you can bring to harmony and goodness, and then they rebel. Or if they're too far gone, you have the Pavlov's dog of punishment that can bring them, have a way out, that if they choose goodness, but if they don't, then it's essentially you just pushing back all their original punishment back onto them that they pushed off onto all the children they abused. And then you change all these timelines and you turn them, all the negative projects, into positive projects that make the timeline better. Everyone that entangled with you is going to come into the ally for humanity. And they're not, because, and I tried to explain this before, but I didn't have enough time. Because they remain in the unseen versus what you see, it's like the Schrödinger's cat box, you have the ability to influence it more when it's in the unseen. So it's more shiftable, more warpable into reality. And that's their undoing because they want to remain hidden. So they lose that capability to choose, that they're anchored to your timeline. You have the ability to shift the entire timeline of their being to a better one that like has to do with anchors of each individual in the projects, how they're doing in their own internal war, in their healing, and the points in their timeline where they had a choice point to change things.
That makes so much sense.
And thank you so much for your bravery in doing that and showing that to the world and coming out about it. I know a lot of people will continue to scoff at you and say, oh, that couldn't be possible. I have tuned into it as existing. I wouldn't say everything because I don't know. I didn't tune into everything.
I've got enough people who support what I'm doing to where I don't care about people who don't believe it.
Good. Don't let it stop you. I'd say I tune into enough of things similar. I'd say enough of it is true to where it is beautiful and brave and strong and supporting the timeline in a positive way that you should continue.
Well, thanks, Sean.
Thank you. And thank you, Kat.
Yeah.
And I look forward to hearing more about both of your discoveries.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
I've only just scratched the surface, so we'll see what develops.
Yeah, she's definitely got a lot to say and a lot to contribute, but it's earlier. She's earlier in the journey than I am.
Sure, let me know, and we can do regular shows every once in a while. I wanted to get into a lot more, of course. There's interesting ways I've tuned into the projects of how they activate abilities, and I want because I'm big on psionics. I want to make a non-abusive way to activate abilities for people.
Yeah,
And like look into these projects of how they triggered it.
there
and
are
then
lots of abusive ways to do it. They've figured out lots of abusive ways even now in these military projects, but it's still not good or perfect.
Right. And that takes a lot of, for them to shift their mind in that is for all the heaviness and darkness and sadness and overwhelm of abuse that they put onto the people that they abused to be for everyone abused to unite and push it back onto them. And then the people in the project see, oh, there's deep consequences into the future for harming all those kids. We should not do that anymore. And it like lessens more and more. And then that's the thing of learning your lesson for even the dark forces. So we'll be pushing that along, and everyone out there, I know you'll be too. Thank you for what you're doing, everyone. And thank you all for tuning in and being brave to speaking your truth and coming out about this stuff that is hard to talk about and makes us feel crazy when we're talking about it, but has big shifts and it appears in our life and it affects things. And we just wake up with these waves of depression and visions that come along with it. And not everything works to resolving depression, but if we do the specific thing that follows that quest, like you were talking about in the nexus point of the mind, then it resolves quickly. And then like that leads us to like, wow, it might be more and more true. So thank you all. And Arkeim and Kat, can you tell how people can get a hold of you and reach you, and ways they can contact you for like I know
we're both on Facebook. She's Cataphilian.
Yeah, I use a fake last name because I don't want people from work looking me up and stuff. So yeah.
And then yeah, I'm Arkeim Raw Wood on Facebook. And I have my channel Disclosure Now, and then I also have with Brian Singh, and then I also have New Earth Light Brigade with Audrey Walters, which is new. And yeah, I've got a lot of interviews coming up. I've got um Penny Shepherd, Heidi Pop, Rob Khalil, Laura Eisenhower, Greg Awakia. Yeah, just a lot of stuff. But yeah, I'm really interviewing a lot of people myself too. So people who love to interact with this kind of content, definitely check out Disclosure Now, Explanation Point, and New Earth Light Brigade on
Yes.
YouTube.
And do you do consultations and you have a book?
Yeah, if you want to consult with me, ask you what the SSP and what you might have been involved in, feel free to reach out to me. I do it at a sliding scale of just whatever people can afford mostly, but it's like $60 a session usually.
Yeah.
And I'm also willing to talk with people for free, but if you saw my interview, or excuse me, if you saw my inbox, you would understand why
Yeah, it's a lot of
I can't just
energy.
like talk to every person who wants my help.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah, it's nuts.
It's
It
pretty
really is.
crazy. And
If
it's
you
just
want to move up
the
to
crazy part is it's just the beginning.
yeah, if you want to move up to the front of the line, give them a donation. Then
Pretty much that's how it works, yeah.
Yep,
Because
yep.
time is money and like
And it's emotional labor too.
yeah, I had to quit my job in order to even be able to do interviews
Yeah.
like this and all that stuff. So I need financial energy in order
Yeah,
to
the bills have to get paid somehow, so.
yeah, and
Right.
I'll trade with you with that. We do sessions. I did a whole like month's worth of like all the limitations on people and them accumulating that abundance density and not letting it get stolen. So I love to see it in you really strong as well. So
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in working with you for sure, man. Let's talk.
yeah, that'll be good. And we can also team up with Draga and we do like cool unlockings into the next
Yeah,
system.
the insane like multi-dimensional fucking QHHT session of I mean, yeah, like my brain's like a lock. You gotta be like you're like the lock picker
Oh,
that
thanks.
Jordan needs to bring in. You know what I mean? Like it's all locked up.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate that. Yeah, and you have a book, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, thank you. Time and Space Unlimited. I wish I had a copy right here, but Time and Space Unlimited on Amazon. Highly recommend people check it out. It's $13 for the Kindle version and $22 for the physical copy. And yeah, just it's basically my whole story and more. And
Yeah,
yeah.
well, not the whole story. You got plenty more books planned in the old noggin, so.
Yeah, but
there's
it's a
lots of
lot. It's a
material
lot of
there.
my story.
Yeah,
It's just like a concise beginning. I help explain it in the best way I can from start to not finish, but you know what I mean.
Right, right. And we both spoke at the Full Disclosure Now conference. And so if you want to see the copy of those two presentations, mine's going to be up soon. Hit the Arkeim's already up. It's at fulldisclosuremovement.org. And it's very interesting and very worth a watch. And there's many other speakers there. There's like 35 speakers or something. And then we'll be both speaking. Are you speaking at the next one next year?
Yeah, I guess I can just announce now it's gonna be a bit different. I'm gonna be hosting a Montauk roundtable discussion.
Cool. And any other events or things you have planned that people should know about?
Not that I can announce currently.
Okay. Well, we look forward to seeing those, and yeah, feel free to add them on Facebook. And what other social medias would you suggest people and you?
Instagram, on Instagram, YouTube.
yep,
Not active on TikTok yet. I should be, but
yeah.
so maybe look out. And if you're watching this from the distant future, I might have it active on TikTok by the time you see this. But yeah,
Here to make it so you're more active on TikTok. Anyone that out there that wants to also cut in front of the line to speak to Arkeim or me, you can message us in whatever way and announce that, hey, I'm willing to do little shorts for you on your videos in order to talk with you, maybe do trades and consultations, etc.
yeah, that is actually really helpful.
Yeah, yeah, and then you can upload them on TikTok later. So if anyone's out there willing to do shorts for either of us, feel free to contact us about that, and then we'll be able to expand our presence and trade with each other in supportive ways. And I'm Sean Bond of Sonic League, sonicleague.com, sonicleague@gmail.com. Also on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and all the other stuff. And I got to do consultations, healings, wholeness, memory retrieval, abundance amplification, a bunch of mystery schools online, teachabilities. I do a little workshop coming up, and I will be doing trips around the world to sacred spots and pyramids and places of power that unlock dormant abilities as you awaken and amplify and heal the land, and they give back to you with great abundance. And let me know, Arkeim, if you're interested in collaborating on any places that you really want to go, and then we can.
I actually wanted to talk to you about something in that realm, but we'll talk soon.
Yeah, let me know on that and what places you're interested in. I'll put you on for the list. And then once we get enough people interested, we'll put on ground bases and set up a whole tour system to go there. So look out for those. And thank you all for coming, and enjoy your presence, and let's free this world of enslavement and mind control, and expand consciousness and psionics and capability, and solve all our problems to the next level.
Hard to not be passive. It's hard to not be passive. It's hard to decide and be active, but it's worth it.
Exactly. Can you say two interesting phrases going out of wisdom that you'd like to give the crowd? I like doing that.
And ramesh kuramananin dushna kwama la muruma kapakushnama. And then also Drishna Makari de Dvoruma Kawama, the Krishna Marareshna Roma Kuamara Ere Dushquam.
Light language, love it. Kat, would you like to say anything?
Oh, I don't have anything like that in me,
You
so.
don't have to do my language, just like some words of wisdom.
Oh, I wouldn't even know. I'm just starting. I feel like I'm just a babe lost in the woods at this point.
Oh, you're not.
But
She always underestimates
just
herself.
don't give up, and yeah, just be filled with determination, I guess. Like I was filled with determination today to get this book out, and to the person who bought it from him. So
Thank you.
just be filled with determination, I guess.
And keep on going. Don't let anything stop you. Never give up on your dreams. Have something to fight for. Be strong. You will make a difference in the world. Every one of you. You're all having this spark of uniqueness inside you to bring that the world brought you here to do. So thank you all. Have a wonderful day. Share this everywhere if you want to see more content. Click that like button, comment below if you want us to see more of Arkeim and Kat on. And yeah, the more you share, the more we see, the more we'll want to do this content. So let us know. Show us. Have a good day, guys. I love seeing